Hey guys, I'm really excited to talk about this module today. If you haven't heard of it, Moulinette is a set of modules that was created by Sven Werlin, also known as Dorgan Dubal on Discord. And I'm showing you here a building from my modular town system. This one's empty, which is unusual. Usually people are using my furnished buildings, but this one's empty. And what I'm excited to talk about is this module in general, but there's a tile function within this set. And you're looking at me dropping a couple of prefabs from my system into here, and we're essentially going to make a tavern. And what has me excited about the Moulinette system is that you can bring in artwork from really any artist that you have access to. You can download it, install it onto your local machine, and then drop their artwork into here. So you're looking at the interface for Moulinette, and you're looking at the tile interface specifically, and you're seeing Forgotten Adventures, which is the artwork that I base all of my stuff off of. So it lends itself really well to my modular town system, and it lets any DM really do anything that they want from a map design perspective on the fly. I'm dragging in beds. They're coming with drop shadows. They're coming in the right size. I'm browsing from within Foundry the entire collection, and I'm very quickly making a scene out of all of these. Of course, you don't have to make complete scenes from scratch, but you can do really amazing stuff now, like creating magical items that glow right on the fly, creating ghostly items, creating an entire scene, or just adding to a scene pieces that you need for storytelling. And while we're looking at Forgotten Adventures right now, you think about other artists like Tom Kartos, or really anyone out there who's creating this artwork. You can really, the sky's the limit as far as what you're now able to do. So what today is going to be about is looking at how to use this, how to set it up, and then really what's next and what to expect out of the Moulinette system. So with that, let's jump into this tutorial. I recommend you guys check out the work by Sven Werlin. His name is Dorgan Dubal on Discord. This is his main GitHub page for Moulinette. Here's Moulinette Core, and then he links to the other specific tools within that are available through the core system. And he gives you instructions on how to install things. Hopefully between this video and these instructions, you don't have too much problem with it. Feel free to hit him up if you have any specific questions on how to get things going. First thing you want to do is go into your add-on modules, do a search for Moulinette. You'll find the core module which is required, and then all of your optional modules to add to it. I went ahead and installed all of them for my instance. Then launch your game world. Next, in your game world, click on Manage Modules. Look for your Moulinette modules here and go ahead and activate all of them that you want to use. Within the module settings, you do have some options. You can do a custom path. We're not going to try to go into that in this tutorial, but if you don't like where Moulinette puts or requires you to put your assets, you can decide to change that. And the other thing is you can disable the showcase content here. You can show or either disable it. Let's take a quick walkthrough. What it does is opens up this new tool in your toolbar, and it gives you your quick open things here, and it also gives you some soundboard options. So let's just walk through some of these major functions. First of all, it makes it really easy to create icons. This uses gameicons.net, and you can select the icon that you like, give it a specific foreground or background color, and then hit Forge, and it'll generate this icon inside of the folder structure. Let me show you the folders here. So Moulinette will introduce a new folder within your Foundry data file structure. So if you go into Moulinette, you can find, for example, under images, game icons, here's all the icons that I generated from the system that I've used elsewhere in my game. And likewise, if you do a search, here's an image search that I ran. And you can also put sounds in tiles in here. You'll notice in a lot of these you have custom folders. That's where you can bring your own sounds, bring your own images. The image search itself is pretty easy to use. Just type in a keyword that you're interested in, and it will generate a bunch of thumbnails. Now you can look at the thumbnail before you create something out of it. I can download it, or I can create an article. What that means is that any of these things can be dragged directly onto your map and turned into something. So if I select a tile, I can drag it onto my map and it'll generate a tile out of it. Likewise, I can create an article. So I can drag the same image onto my map and it'll create a map pin and actually generate a new article, which I can find over in my article section. Likewise, he's got scenes. It's just only a few scenes on here so far, but you can look at community donated scenes, look at the previews and actually import them into your world. So this noble house, for example, is a scene that I imported. Most of them have walls and such. This one's already lit with walls. You can see it's got some special effect lighting going on there as well. But there's only a few things. Hopefully we see the community contribute a lot more here in the near future. As far as sounds, there are some included sounds. The BBC sound effects catalog is in here, and you can play them directly in here and then be able to import the ones that you really want. You can bring your own sounds and index them. You can add certain sounds to favorites. If you show your playlist, let's say we like these. You notice you can have multiple sounds connected to just a quick and easy soundboard here as well. But the one I'm really interested in that we're here to talk about today is the tile tool. Okay, so let's talk about how the tile tool works. There's a couple of things. You drop things in as tiles. You'll want to select that. You'll also be able to tell the grid size. So Forgotten Adventures, for example, all standardizes on a 200 DPI for their assets. So if you set this to 200, then when you drop something in, a cart, for example, a mine cart, it'll be the correct size for your map. If we lower this, see everything will be too large. This is essentially 2 by 2 squares. And likewise, if you increase the size to say 400, you can take assets that are normally big and make them really small. So that's how you manipulate the asset size. But for the most part, you're going to want to stay at 200 if you want the Forgotten Adventures assets to be the right one. Now, the macro I showed you, you have to import the macro. If I go into Moulinette macros, I'll find this add shadow macro here. And it'll explain how it works and the settings that it needs. This macro does require token magic effects to work. If you don't have token magic effects module installed and active, then the shadow simply won't render. But what this will do is apply the right filter to that. So you actually import this, and when you do, you're going to want to name it something like shadow, something easy to remember. Notice this is called Tiles Add Shadow. You just want to change the name to something like Shadow, and then it'll work. You notice I've already got one in my world that is that same thing called Shadow. Now I've added a couple of other custom ones. One is called Glow, and this applies a specific filter to make that glow effect. And the other one is called Ghostly. And this uses a special ghost shape thing that I created that gives a ghostly effect. So let's look at what Glow does. The same minecart now, instead of having a drop shadow, is glowing. You can also add those same effects later if you want to. And if I look at Ghostly, let's do a ghostly tent, for example. I don't know why there'd be a ghostly tent, but here's a tent that kind of is ethereal and almost transparent. You can apply the same effect to tokens and other things that you drop into your world. Okay, so let's look at how to get the Forgotten Adventures assets into the Moulinette tile tool. First, you want to go to forgotten-adventures.net. That's their website. Go to Map Making Assets. And you can view a live gallery of all their stuff. It's on Google Drive. But what you want is this, the complete map making pack. You can notice it's updated regularly with their latest stuff. What we're going to do is download that pack, and we're going to install it in a special place. Under your Foundry data file, you want to go into Moulinette. It gets created by the module. And you might think you should put it in tiles, but that's not where you want to put it. You actually want to go into Images, Custom, and you want to download and then uninstall your pack right here. I gave it a name, Forgotten Adventures, because that's going to be what it's called within the module. So what you want is for your creator name to be here, like Tom Kartos or Forgotten Adventures. And then within Forgotten Adventures, it's going to pick up the folders underneath it as the actual packs. And then it's going to use the names of the assets themselves to generate the index. You also notice there's an index file here. Well, that doesn't get generated automatically. Let's look at how to do that. In the Moulinette tool, if you go into your tile tool, once you've installed your Forgotten Adventures pack within there, you can hit Index Images, and it'll start to crawl through that pack and index everything for you. If you make changes and add things to that pack, and I recommend you do, I recommend you subscribe to Forgotten Adventures. You get all of those updates. You get notified of them. It's not expensive at all, but you get regular updates to those packs. And then you can just come in here and install it and then re-index it, and you'll get everything new again. Keep in mind that Forgotten Adventures does not allow distribution of their stuff through any other means except for personal use. So this is your personal copy sitting on your instance of Foundry, and then you can index it and use the Moulinette tool to be able to access it really easily from within Foundry. Once you've done that, it'll create this index file, and that's what the tool uses to let you be able to browse things easily. So let's now look at some of the categories of things that are available to you in the Forgotten Adventures set. So you've got really common things like that you use a lot, like trees and bushes. Really beautiful looking trees that you can just drop in anywhere. You've got dead versions of them. Super interesting and helpful. You've got pine trees that you no doubtedly can use in a lot of different places. And you've got bushes and other things in this category. You've got things like rocks and boulders. If you look up blood, you can find bloody weapons. You can find bloody magic circles that are extremely interesting and useful in a lot of places. You've got bloody footprints, blood splatters, different types of bodies, dead horses. If you look up body, you can also find these dead and dismembered and mummified bodies. You can even find bodies that were scorched and left as stains on the ground, skeletons, that sort of thing. You can also find fungus, shells, you can find crystals. So, you grab a crystal like this one, apply a glow effect, and you can have some nice crystals sort of glowing in your world. You can apply other effects as well. You have spiderwebs. You've also got bridges and ridges. So you can create with this modular system ridges around a particular area. You can create bridges in the same way. You have drawbridges, that sort of thing. You have cliffs, so like the ridges, but you've got larger cliffs that are all modular that you can just drop in and create different types of interesting terrains. You have things like ice and ice chunks. You've got rivers that also snap in and snap together. Here's coin purses that you can drop into a scene and let players find. Coins, create treasure hoards anywhere that you want to. TNT. Here's a bunch of different cages that you can use. You have cage bottoms that you can deploy, and then you have the cage tops that go on top of them. So you can do some creative things with putting tokens inside there and then, releasing them. I love these. These are the cannons. And notice you have different varieties of cannons that you can put in here. But these are really attractive looking, and you can drop them into any scene and give your players some weaponry and firepower. If you just search for weapon, you can find all sorts of other things. Here's a siege weapon. Here's all kinds of weapons that you can drop into your scenes. If you apply the glow filter, all of a sudden that's a magical dagger. You can hide it from players to begin with, but once they've discovered, you can unhide it. And this kind of thing is just great for dropping in anything. You've got weapon racks that you can use. You can even put in empty racks and put weapons in them that can be removed. Notice there's no armor, at least nothing under the armor category. There's other artists that have some great armor, which I'll do a video on here in the future. You have a complete modular track system, including various switches and levers that you can put into any scene to introduce some kind of trap or something for your players to interact with. You also have all keys and locks, padlocks. You have all kinds of dishes and things for kitchens. You've got pots and goblets, anything that you would find. You've got drinking horns and flagons, all sorts of stuff under the kitchen tag if you search for that. Here you have various paths that you can drag in. I wouldn't recommend applying any filters to those. You can have snowy paths, muddy paths, dirt paths. You've got a few toys to pick from. You can drop in maps and letters and notes. A map that you just put discreetly into your scene. Resize it and let your players find it. You have lots of books, book piles, journals. You've got book stands. You have lots of different paper, burnt and unburnt, newspapers. If you zoom in on some of these, you can actually see they've got deeds and warrants and things written on them. Here's a wanted poster. Here's a deed with blood on it. I love these. So you've got graves that are dug into the ground, and you even have tops that can go onto those graves. You have dirt piles that you can put next to it, show a grave that's been unearthed. You've got all kinds of crypts that you can put tops on and then remove them during gameplay. Headstones and crosses. You've got different types of altars, all with different runners. Some of these could go in a dwarven community. Some of them would go in a church. Various types of mirrors. I've showed you all of the different chairs that you have available to you. If you type in seating, you can see even more stuff, benches. All kinds of options in different colors, chaise lounges, I mean, you name it, ottomans. You've even got some thrones to sit on. If you search for magic, you've got all kinds of magic items that like ornate skulls, magic stabs and wands. You've got all these different magic circles. Some of these are really interesting. They come as a kind of an etched look. Like here's a bunch of blood-stained ones, powdered ones, like chalk. Here you go. Here's the etched in ones. They look like they're etched into the surface that they're put in. You also have blast marks, which can be put in different sizes to create instant damage. You have various types of chains. These chains can go into a wall, take somebody prisoner. You've got all kinds of beds, hammocks, sleeping bags. You have tents and lean-tos that are all very impressive. You've got the interior of the tent, so you can dress that up and then you can put a top over it. And using the roofs module, you can turn that into a roof. And if a player walks into it, they can see the inside and the roof goes away. Lots of treasure chest options. You also have lots of torches, different types of fires and campfires, braziers. You have all these really cool cellar door options with stairs built in, or they're automatically see-through. You have a completely modular castle wall system. So if you want to build a castle and have a way up to it, these are all things that you can build really easily. You've got roofs and roof components that you can drop into a map. You have an amazing pipe system that just came out in different varieties where you can just create modular pipes in your maps. You can create platforms of different varieties. You've got these platforms as well, which come with more of a magic type of component to it. You can build fort walls and all kinds of stuff with these pieces. You've got different types of wells that you can just drag in. Some of them are overgrown. Great jumping off points for adventures. You can put a multi-level token region around this and teleport your players down into the well. It's got modular pieces on it as well, so you can have a crank and other things on top of it. You've got different types of barricades to create impediments to your players. You can also just drop in wall components, different types of ladders. You've also got a bunch of options for wagons, different kinds of wagons. You can put tops on these wagons. They're all built to be sort of modular. Again, I can make this a roof, and now my players can walk inside of that wagon. And of course, you have boats and modular boats, and you can make them bigger or smaller just using the asset grid tool. So there's a lot more in there. I hope you guys explore this. You can bring your own artists, which I'll do another one in the future on another artist that I really like. But yeah, pretty much anything that you can think of, you've probably got an asset that you can access through this. But that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This is a really, really great new system to help build, dynamic things within Foundry. I'm really excited to see it. I'm excited to see that it's being done in such a good way that's creator friendly. You're going to see in the near future some really interesting things, I think, for this system, specifically for the tile system. I've been actively contributing ideas to the system. I think obviously it works with Forgotten Adventures, which is my base artwork pack. So I'm excited to see how much this adds to even my modular system. But hopefully you guys found this interesting and helpful, and that you guys can take this and do some great stuff with it. Let me know in the comments, or come drop by my Discord if you've got other ideas or questions about how to use the Moulinette system for world building. But that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this, and let me know if you'd like to see more overviews like this. I'll be covering the development of this module here in the near future, but let me know if you'd like to see more of this stuff. Thanks so much, and have fun making your maps.